It does?
Yeah. Okay, we are live. Go ahead and click on the play button on your side. There you go. And then we might have to just use one.
That's interesting. This is actually not live. This was a couple seconds ago.
Yep. It's there's a delay.
Oh.
Okay. This is where it gets weird when I go on air. I prefer the regular hangout. We might just have to do this.
That's fine by me.
Okay, let's see what you see. And I'm gonna get out of.
I still like this loop track from like when you first logged in. It keeps looping back and forth.
Chrome, just the best one.
There we go. Now it's live.
Okay. You're like, oh. Let's just see. I'm going to go back and forth to see if there's people on the other side. Just.
It's really delayed though. I don't know how useful with this delay.
And what will happen is they'll ask me questions here, and then we'll answer the questions from here.
So it's not voice interactive. It's more.
It
like a
is.
for the questions.
It is, but what we found was there was always a delay, and so there's no delay on the chat.
Got it.
So
how do you want to do that? I do like an introduction that says, "Hi, this is the kind of stuff that this is what we're working on. Our mindset around co-ops is X, Y, Z." Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
And then it's really open. It's really open Q&A.
Let me close the door.
I'm gonna turn it off. Can you hear anything? I'm gonna turn off mine. Can you hear anything? On the chat. So.
How do you do that? I do like an introduction. Oh, that's really great.
I know. You might have to do a WebEx if it doesn't work. It's really open. So right now I don't have any sound. But we are early.
Mm-hmm.
We can show an Intuit sign. We can show. Wait, let me just. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't hold that there.
And the trust me is like, is like backwards. All we have is our make taxes apps. Oh, what about the year of the U? No. Okay. Let's see.
Can't really see this as input.
I know.
I've got the Coachella thing. That would be very timely.
Yeah. Look, I'm seeing what you just were doing. We're looking for props. Alex is like, this is gonna be on YouTube. I'm like, look at those jokers.
You do anything you want on your last day to enjoy.
I'm gonna do a Google Hangout. See, like we're watching live. They're gonna go, oh, I'm gonna watch this again.
2 viewers. That means somebody else is in.
2 viewers. No, let's see. but it is. There's Asla.
Nothing else. Intuit is a focus store.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the sound until we're ready. Okay, and then I'm gonna share. Did you want to share a deck or anything? I don't think so.
I'm just gonna read.
Yeah.
Or just talk.
2 viewers are there. Let me see. It is now live. No one's yet. They're probably waiting till 5:30. So welcome. Your name, my name, and then we're here to answer questions. But first, an overview of maybe just an overview of the engineer co-op role. And like you said, that it's important, that they're important team members. They are interested in understanding the work, like high level. What will we be asking them and the types of work they'll do and how to prepare and who is their manager. So right now, everyone's going to be assigned to you and we're going to assess with the leaders who would make the right fit. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. Because it's still seeing me. Let's just see if I just.
It's so delayed that
Oh, yeah.
it'll take forever.
I don't see anybody just yet.
It's still only 5:22.
So we have Jimmy, Yufeng, Neha, Adam, Barack, and Kelly's not going to be able to make it. So it should allow a bunch of people to be able to talk and ask questions, but we've had kind of delays in the questions. We've also had issues where people haven't been able to, it just doesn't sync up because of the delays. Every Coachella is the same, except for this Coachella definitely has the lowest energy, but it's also the one with the most, the least amount of diversity in backgrounds.
Do you think that's why it's low energy?
I do think so.
It was Rochester, Cincinnati, and Northeastern.
Yeah, but the roles are mostly engineers. It's the least number of non-engineers.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Deepan, can you hear us? Will you just let me know on the dashboard? So we have one student on, and let's see. Hi everyone, please announce when you announce yourself. So yes, you can hear. I won't be able to speak as my mic is not working. Okay, so I'm going to add him. You can please type in your questions here. That's a cool name. Deepen. Okay. So we'll get started in about 5 minutes. It's 5:25 or 8:25 your time. So we'll get started in 5 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and mute. Four of the students today have gone through a Coachella, but it still is it's a hard thing to go through.
Absolutely.
And the problems are always different, so it's not like you could say, "Oh, I did that already." So
Well, that's a good experience for them. So.
yeah, and I definitely got, like I said, from 2 people already today. When is the one for the regular engineer? I'm like, yes, it's coming. Yes, it's coming. I promise. Okay, so he said, okay, thanks. Let's see, anyone else? So right now it looks like all these folks are already watching. So they went from coming to watching.
Okay.
So that does happen where students won't have a mic. So it's hard to engage unless we do it this way.
Yeah, hopefully it makes sense.
I didn't realize how red my hair is until I look at the light. I'm like, Okay, well, we have 2 minutes. Okay. I see that there are 3 other viewers besides me and Alex. I believe Deepen is there. Could you please chat or just announce yourself to let us know who's out there, and we can get started in about a minute. So it's 5:29. delay, so it's really weird. I'm like,
Mm.
that is not what I'm saying. Let's see. Okay, so Adam's also here. Okay, so I see that Yufeng and Adam are there. Anyone else? I am seeing that Jimmy is watching, but I don't see him on the broadcast just yet. I also haven't, I see that Barack is watching, but I also haven't seen him on yet. So, as well as Neha. It'd be great if you guys could just let us know that you're here. And because we do experience delays on Google Hangouts, please go ahead and use the chat functionality, which is on the right side of yours, or on the side of your screen where it says group chat, or you can go straight on the dashboard and we can watch for your questions there. Okay, so Barack is also here. Can any of you announce yourself? So something happened. Let me see. I am live. Okay. And can you guys announce yourself? Now that you guys can hear us, can you all say so that your name, so that we know that you're there and we can get started? It's 5:31, so I think we're gonna get started. I do have quite a few of you guys on. And yay, perfect. So Allison, great to see you as well. And I think you guys can hear us, right? So please let us know if you cannot by typing in group chat or by letting us know. Is here or on the dashboard. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started then. So my name is Aliza, I'm a tech evangelist here at Intuit. I'm also part of the university recruitment team. Unfortunately, I couldn't see you guys at NEU this time around, but hopefully I can make it there in the fall.
Hi, I'm Alex Balazs. I'm the chief architect for the consumer tax division of Intuit, which is basically TurboTax. So you can think of me as kind of the lead engineer here at TurboTax. And what I'm going to be doing is kind of talking a little bit about the co-op program that we have here at TurboTax and Intuit in general, and the mindset that we have on how we place the co-ops and where they work and what they do. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but I do want to give you a brief overview. And then the real hope here is this can be interactive and you can ask any questions that you have about anything that, any kind of questions that you may have, the kind of work that you would do, what the engineering culture is like, past experiences from other co-ops that we can tell you about what some of the other co-ops did. But one thing to get started is that generally what we used to do with our co-ops is we would pool them all together, and we'd as soon as possible pre-assign them to a manager, and then that manager would kind of decide what it is that they would do. And what we found was that wasn't the best way for us to really maximize the experience, both for the co-op themselves and for us as a company in terms of getting the best value out of all of you. So, we view the co-op experience and the work that we give the students here as being a very valuable work. It's a very, very valuable resource to us. We invest a lot in all of you in terms of not just the obvious things like the pay and the lodging that we provide, but really the education and the experience. And we really view the co-ops as being an integral part of the engineering teams. And so given that, and given the fact that we always have more priorities than what we have time to actually work on, we actually changed the process this year. And so what we did is initially all the co-ops across all the different schools where we're recruiting will initially report to me as the chief architect of the group. And what I'm going to do is that as we get closer to the time when all of you arrive, I'll be going through a vetting process with all the different engineering managers and the engineering directors to make sure that we're actually putting all of you in the most important place. So the great side benefit for all of you is that you get to work on the coolest stuff, because chances are the place where we're going to allocate all of you to work will in fact be the most important projects, probably working with the newest technology, and probably the place where you can learn the most and provide the most value. And so just to give you some examples, we're in a process right now in TurboTax where we're really revitalizing and changing up the technology that's used to build the app. So a lot of the technology that's inside of TurboTax came from technology decisions that were actually made about 20 years ago, maybe even longer than 20 years ago. And it's pretty ironic. 20 years ago, I was just starting my career as well. And many of those design decisions are still around. And so what we've done over the course of the past, there have been efforts over the past 5, 6, 7 years to really revitalize the technology stack, but we've had a renewed effort in the past year and a half, certainly that I've been around. And so what you'll see is a bunch of projects that actually are taking advantage of a lot of the more forward-looking standards around technology. So web technology frameworks like Angular and Handlebars. Our entire front-end services that are delivering experiences or user experiences across any device are all written in Node.js with JavaScript. Our back-end services are primarily Java-based services running in Tomcat and Mule runtime containers. And then we use data technologies like Cassandra and Gluster, and then also leaning into a lot of the technologies provided by AWS, Amazon Web Services, things like DynamoDB and RDS, and also the standard runtime containers like EC2. So there's a pretty broad technology spectrum, and really we're in the midst of not just rethinking the way that we do tax as a business, but really thinking about what other businesses do we want to get into. And so what we're doing is creating a series of technology platforms. And so the great news for all of you, and in fact all the engineers within the group now, is that we're leaning heavily into this new strategy. And so you could be working on anything from building front-end user experiences using Node.js and JavaScript that show up inside of all the new TurboTax apps. So the new strategy we have around TurboTax, we refer to as TurboTax Universal. And so we write to the user experience one, and it shows up natively on any platform, iOS, Android, web, Windows, Mac, and a couple of other things that we're working on. So you could be working on one of those teams. There's a bunch of teams that are actually building backend services in Java. So you could be working on a Java Web Services team. There's teams that are doing data analytics and data science. So if you have an interest around data science, an interest in looking at big data technologies like Cassandra or Hadoop, that might be a logical. And then finally, there's a bunch of other teams around things like quality engineering and application operations and development operations, really building the tooling that allows you to create software at the scale that we do. And so traditionally, we've had co-ops in all of these different teams. And as we move forward and as we define our strategies for the next tax year, as we get past April 15th, what we want to do is to align what are your interests with the needs that we have from our different engineering teams, and really put all of you on the most important teams. Actually, one team that I forgot to call out, ironically, given the fact that it's my team, is there's a technology exploration team. So we actually have a team who's chartered with basically exploring technology and figuring out how do we use that technology to fully realize the visions of our products. So for example, we have a team right now that's investigating wearables. So things like the Apple Watch, there's a couple of other wearable devices. So how do we use wearables? And so we have a budget where we go out, we buy some of these wearables, we buy these devices, and we run experiments, and we try to figure out what's the right way for our products to take advantage of these things. So we actually have a number of co-ops, I think 4 co-ops, who are actually working on my technology exploration team, writing Apple Watch widgets, and doing a couple of other different things. So there's a pretty wide array of choices of places where you'll be working, and It's a good news, bad news. The bad news, I can't tell you right now what team you'll be on, but the good news is that's because we want to make sure we put you in the most important place.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to ask you guys to either, I don't know if you could pipe up and ask your questions, but you can definitely ask your questions on the dashboard. So we're just gonna pause here. You guys heard quite a few things from Alex, but we're gonna pause here, and I'd like to find out, and we'd like to find out, what questions do you have right now before we move on to the topic, to other topics. So I'm just gonna wait a moment because I know there's a little bit of a delay. Alex, do you mind going into the dashboard view? The viewer, yeah, and let's see, like maybe we'll use this for the dashboard just to see if you have any questions. Any questions?
So it looks like Jimmy said that he couldn't comment in Chrome, but Safari seems to be working. I seem to have a similar thing where when I open up in Chrome, there isn't a comment pad.
Okay, how will we know what we will be doing specifically during the co-op?
So how will you know? So there's, I guess, I don't know if you're asking the question of when or how. So the when will be slightly before you would show up, a couple of weeks before that will.
So they'll start around June or July. So.
Right. So what we would do is probably late May or early June. We make sure that we collect some information from you in terms of what your interests are, and then we'll tell you about the opportunities that exist, and we would assign you to a team. In terms of the specifics of how will you know what you're doing specifically, that's something you get from your hiring manager, from an architect that's on the team, and from your peers. And so the specifics of the work assignment will occur when you're here. So we're almost exclusively an agile software development shop where we have a Scrum process and there's items on the sprint backlog. And so you would be assigned to a team and you would work on that team implementing the things off the sprint backlog. And so obviously you'd get a lot of feedback from the manager that you directly work for and the architect that's on your team as well. But it's kind of an agile process.
Barak and others, as you all have questions also that maybe you think about after today's Google Hangout, please send Kelly Goodall an email, and I think all of you guys have her information, and she will definitely direct those to me and Alex, and we can provide those answers as well in case you have questions that we didn't get to today. So the next question is, can you tell us what exactly the type of work there is in data analytics?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of people on the data analytics team who are remarkable people. So great people to learn from. We have a guy there who was the lead data scientist on the creation of Microsoft Bing. We have one of the engineers, a data scientist who actually came from the NSA. So it's a fantastic group of folks to learn from. And so certainly they can give you a lot more detail, but the breadth of what you would be doing on the data analytics team is everything from setting up the actual infrastructure. So setting up Hadoop and Cassandra and some of the other data technologies to actually deriving and creating insights. And so we have a new user experience model that instead of being hard-coded, it actually changes the behavior of the experience based on data that we have. And so what happens is that there's an engine, a decision engine, and based on data that's collected, it'll run a rule, it'll run a heuristic, and it'll provide a response that tells the user experience what to do. And so a big part of what that data science team does is it actually figures out ways to derive what those insights are. And so it can be written in lots of different types of data analytical languages. But that would be part of the experience as well, or part of the work that you would do. So everything from how do you set up your own data analytics infrastructure to actually doing data science and finding insights and how to deliver those insights into the core application. There's also a secondary set of work around things like, in order for us to make intelligent decisions, you actually have to get the data. And so there's a work around collecting what's called clickstream information, which is the kind of the metadata that is around a web application, and putting that into a place where you could actually then run the analytics, do data transforms, so on and so forth. And so there's a pretty broad set of tasks, and it really is the full gamut from infrastructure to actual data science.
The next question is, how big are each of the teams?
Yeah, so the teams, the principle at Intuit is you don't want a team to be larger than anything that can be fed by 2 pizzas, which is somewhat of a generic term, but it's kind of an agile term around 2 pizza box teams. So what it really comes down to is that generally the teams are less than about 8 or 10. Some of them are around 4 or 5. Some of them could be as big as 15, but generally they're around 8.
Next question. Will the co-op be more of a training experience, or are we actually working with actual end product?
Yeah, so working with actual end product. So that's one of the reasons why we are changing the process around how we assign you to work, is because you're actually an engineer. You're actually working on the product. And so will there be training involved? Absolutely. So every one of our engineers needs to be training and learning constantly. And so that will be part of the experience. But yeah, you're working on production code. It's going out to tens of millions of customers. So real product.
Next question. Can you share a bit about how you're handling deprecation of old technologies as you incorporate these new technologies you just mentioned?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. So the old technology, the official term that we refer to is, we call it technology debt. And so it's a debt that you have to pay, the same way that you have a debt like a financial debt. And the way that you pay off that financial debt is you have what are called hygiene projects. And the hygiene projects allow you to collect on that engineering debt. Another way that you can collect on the engineering debt is to completely eliminate the technology and replace it with something new. So we're actually doing both of those things. The strategy that we have on how we deprecate the old and move to the new is along the lines of what I just said, which is, the first thing is we have specific hygiene projects, and those projects are designed to make the existing technology better and to prepare it for transformation to the new technology stack. The other part, the other way that we do it is there's an official architectural pattern name for it, but I always forget the official name. The informal one that we generally use as software architects is the bag on the side architecture, which basically is you start doing something the new way, and is a full stack that sits next to the old stack. Over the course of time, the bag on the side gets bigger and bigger, and the thing that it's on the side of gets smaller and smaller. And in the end, the existing technology disappears, and the bag becomes the actual new stack. The big difference this year is that instead of having the bag on the side, we actually have the bag in the middle. So what we're doing is that you'll see specific experiences in TurboTax that are new. They're built on the new technology stack. And if you know what you're looking for, you could probably see the difference. Most of our customers probably cannot. And the rate at which we inject those new experiences will be faster and faster, and then eventually we'll deprecate the old technology.
Okay, gosh, you guys, lots going on here. So someone's curious about what you just mentioned, Alex, about self-learning systems. Can you comment more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the general paradigm with TurboTax historically was get as many customers as possible through exactly the same experience. So you create an interview, and that interview has 250, 260 steps. And everyone goes through the same steps. And what you quickly realize is that, as you do some analytics on it, is that for people for whom the questions aren't relevant, they would drop off the product. Many will drop off because they don't think it's built for them. And so instead of doing that, what if we thought about creating 30 million experiences for 30 million people? So hand coding 30 million experiences is impossible. So what if you actually created software that looked at the data and predicted what questions should we ask you? What's relevant to you? The classic question that we talk about, because it's actually kind of a joke, is that if you're, let's say, an 18-year-old barista working in New York City, the interview for TurboTax would ask you the question of, do you collect California railway retirement? Right? Highly unlikely, because you're 18 and living in New York City. And so that's just one example of the kinds of insights. That one's kind of an obvious one, but with self-learning systems, you actually use the power of data, you use machine learning, you use the heuristics that are created by data science to actually make the software smart.
Next question, do teams usually work closely together, or do people often work independently, or neither?
So most teams at Intuit work very closely together. So the way that the campus is actually constructed, there are a series of neighborhoods. So all the different floors are separated into neighborhoods. Generally, most engineers have offices within those neighborhoods, but the center of the neighborhood is like a big table with chairs, and there's generally food in the middle, and there's monitors out there, and generally a big monitor to somebody wants to share something with a larger group. And the idea is that, or most of the time, the engineers tend to hang out in those collaborative areas and work together. So there are certainly moments where they kind of work on their own if they need to work on a document or read something, but generally when they're writing software, it tends to be a very collaborative and peer process.
Okay, this one is from Neha. Okay, I guess there isn't a question just yet. Any other questions? I think we got to all of them. I'm just going to wait a moment. Let me just type quickly. The co-ops in the San Diego office, which is the consumer tax group, you guys are going to be from Northeastern, but you will also be joined by students from RIT, from Rochester. There is also a program, just to let you all know, that we're currently running this week. It's called Coachella. Many of you probably have heard of it. And it's a one-week training and hackathon program. So really excited to have you guys also experience that. So let me see. I don't see any other questions. I think, again, if you guys have any other questions that you need answered that we did not cover today, please send an email to Kelly Goodall and she will get back to us. Alex, is there anything else that you want to impart, or any other question or any other things that you think are important for our co-ops to know?
I guess the last thing I will say is that we just to kind of reiterate that we really view the co-op process as being an extension of our engineering team. And so I hope that as you're looking around to make your choices of where you want to co-op, what type of experience you want, that you look for something that provides you the greatest challenge. And so our goal really is to provide you a place where you can be challenged, you can create amazing experiences, or really get that full engineering experience. So the last thing that we want to do is create an environment where kind of all the co-ops hang out together in a corner, completely segregated from the engineering experience. So actually 20 plus years ago when I co-opted, it was kind of like that. And so certainly I felt that. I know how horrible it feels to not be part of the process. And so, I just encourage you, as you look around and you make your choices of where you want to work and what you want to do, that really keep that in mind. So where is it that you can actually begin your career and not just have it be a place where you hang out for a couple of months, that it's really the start of your career.
I do want to add that the timing of your co-op is so starkly different from the kind of environment that you guys are going to be experiencing compared to those that are current co-ops that started at the height of what we call our tax season. So with you all starting in what we call like summer season, right? The June, July timeframe. a lot of the work that you're going to be doing is preparing for the tax season, which really starts off in late December. So the co-ops today, if you guys have friends that are here today in San Diego, definitely it's going to be such a different experience, don't you think, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there are pluses and minuses to being here at nearly any time, but you know, arriving in the time that all of you would arrive, that's when most of the new product development happens. That's when we start actually leaning into the new technology. So, for example, last year, as we brought in Node.js, that's when we really started working on Node. That's when we started working on building some of our new technology that we're about to open source around our multi-platform strategy. And so, you know, the co-ops today will get a really deep experience of what it's like to be inside of an engineering culture as the money's being made. So this is kind of the money season. This is the season where we get high traffic, and so that certainly is an interesting experience. But you know, one of the really cool things about being here, as Aliza indicated, during the time frame that you'll be here, is that that's when a lot of the kind of new ideas and brainstorming and new technology work actually kicks in, because the target is to deliver towards the end of the year.
Let me just check to see if there's any questions that came in. I'm pretty sure there weren't. Let me just check one more time. I don't see any other questions. Again, if you have questions and you didn't get to ask it now, please send an email to Kelly. It was really great to be able to share these answers with you all, and I hope that provided some, in a way, comfort, but also some answers to those burning questions you guys had about joining the Intuit team here in San Diego. Any final words, Alex?
No, that's it. Stay warm. I lived in Boston for 8 years.
I think it's negative today, as they said.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
It is a little rainy. What is the weather right now, Alex, in March?
In March?
In San Diego.
Oh, in San Diego?
Yeah.
I think the average is like low 70s.
Yeah. So today we do have a little bit of rain, but we definitely have a few of our folks from Cambridge office here at Coachella, and they're telling us it's negative in Boston. So you guys do stay warm, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you all in June or July. So see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.